said that now, so it's going to pick it up. All right, welcome back. A little bit of a technical difficulty. We had music playing in the background. We didn't even know on one of the videos. Anthony, did you fix the problem?
Yes.
Okay, so it's all fixed. People in the chat, anybody watching, let us know if you do hear music. We will cut that right away, but Anthony should have fixed the problem right now. Let's get back to it. So, starting the whole video again. Let's go a little, we can go a little faster for people anyways. We were at a GT over the weekend, X-Planet. Great GT done by Lino. We went over, Lino does TGX.
He does a lot of RTTs.
Does a lot of RTTs. A lot of great players went out. Scari was there. We had Dice Check guys there. We had
not Dice Check, Stat Check.
Stat Check. We had
Team Sweden as well.
Team Sweden.
And of course Team NKG.
And NKG was there, of course. So, and we also had some Bloodbath and Beyond guys.
Yep.
So, really good GT, a lot of fun, great armies. Let's go over the list. My list, I took Eldar. You took Admech, of course. Those are your boys right now. You want to go over your list first?
Sure. My list is very unconventional, to say the very least. Rather than 3 bricks of breachers, I'm only taking 2 bricks of breachers. Yeah. Rather than taking a lot of tanks or a lot of more breachers, I'm just taking plenty of Bellastari, 6 men in total, with last cannons, and 5 Sidonian Dragoons, which comes out to a heck of a lot of fast-moving, tanky units with 5+ invulnerable save. Aside from that, I have some infantry, some rangers, and the Vanguard inside the Scorpius Dune Riders, just being driven around, lots of shooting for anti-infantry, and just being a nuisance to my opponent. The whole idea and theme of this list is just to be extremely aggravating in terms of like aggressive play and making your opponent think before they act. Some armies are very simple, like, oh, you got that guy there, I'm just going to pop him off. Or you got like this happening, I'm just going to do react to it. With an army like Admech, where you have Overwatch and you have stuff that can shoot back when you get shot, your opponent has to think at least 2 or 3 times before they can do anything.
Yes.
It's like, imagine your whole, like, I have 2 units of Wraith Guard that can shoot at 36-inch range.
I know.
That's basically what my breachers are.
And you can use that strat where you can shoot back when you get shot.
That's exactly it.
You can Overwatch. It's annoying.
Yep, there are so many tools in the AdMech toolkit that nobody is really thinking of, and it is what really like makes people makes their almonds activate.
Not to mention your walkers that do anti-vehicle 2+.
Anti-walker 2+.
Anti-walker 2+. Sorry. Yeah, that is really good. So going into your list, talking about your list, let's go into your matchups a little bit. Okay,
so just to clarify with the GT, it was a 2-day event, 5 games in total.
3 on the first day.
Yep, 3 on the first day and 2 on the second day.
Yes.
It was quite an endeavor. Of course, congratulations to Scari, who did get first place.
Yep. Scari.
Yeah. Me as an addict player did pretty good, honestly.
Yeah.
I got 8th place, which I think is probably one of the highest I've gotten
honestly, yet. I mentioned this before. I really thought you would. I thought, okay, the last game, I thought you could have won that, and I thought you could have won the game you lost, even though you did get kind of stomped there. You got 40 points?
It was 40-77.
Okay, so it was a closer game.
That is really close.
And you lost to who again on the first one?
I lost to Franklin Peng. He plays the Black Templars.
Oh yeah, the Templars, yeah.
And then the other one I lost to Carlo
That's the stat check guy, right?
He's one of the guys who just he knows for stat check. Yeah. And then the other one was Carlo Roque. He played a fantastic game with his Iron Storm Space Marine list. Very tank heavy, lots of buffs to his Executioner.
He went 4-1 as well. Funny enough, that list is a nightmare to play against. We were saying Anthony beat him first turn with Imperial Guard, and he went fixed missions against Anthony. So he went cleanse and he went bring it down. He got bring it down because Anthony gives up bring it down easily with his list. But Anthony kept him off every single objective, couldn't do cleanse, denied him all of that, and ended up being a victory for Imperial Guard there.
Anthony's list was basically what I ran. Anthony had been thinking of what to do with the Chimera spam list and just blocking with tanks. So it is like a combined NKG endeavor on that.
At them,
So what he did was he just moved his Chimeras up with scout from the jungle fighters inside. So you're basically at the opponent's deployment zone. He can't exit. He has to deal with those toughness 9 hulls. Absolutely. And as you saw probably yesterday, they're not that easy to take down.
They're not. No.
They require at least
not fun.
2 turns at least of just minimum damage. If you, of course, you focus them down, they pop like flies.
Absolutely.
But if you're just throwing, 1 last cannon, 2 last cannons, expect those tanks to last at least maybe 2 turns at most.
Yeah, toughness 9 is not the hardest to kill, but you could probably one-shot it with a lot of Eldar stuff.
Yeah.
But either way, that is a good tactic, and it helped him win that game. Let's go into your matchups because we're a little behind now because we have to restart. So first match, you beat Matt Wakefield. We don't have to go into that one. It was kind of a stomp. You played CSM. Easy match for you. You also got first turn that game.
I got second turn.
You got second turn.
All that it involved was me being able to push up extremely fast because my opponent was very conservative. A lot of things you got to explain to your opponent on how to play AdMech. It does maybe take like 3 or 4 minutes to explain to your opponent, so it doesn't have any gotcha moments. But when you like play, you just got to be like, aggressive at them. If they want to be conservative, like that's just how they play, right? You explained everything.
It is, yeah.
So that's really that. The second game I played against was Charles Soong, Team Sweden guy, by the way.
Yeah, Team Sweden. He had a good list. I think we said he had
12 of the Evil Knight baby guys, the Armigers.
Baby Knights, yeah. He played Chaos Knights, and he brought 12 Armigers. Well, different types. He had Carnivores, a mixture of all of them. Yeah, Brigands. Tough list. You had a good deployment on him because it was
sweep and clear.
Sweep and clear. So what's it called?
A sweep engagement.
Quarters.
Yeah. The ones where it's in quarters.
Table quarters.
And with the way that Lionel's terrain is set up, it does offer a lot of line of sight places to do.
Especially in the corners.
So me being an AdMech player and me being able to have lots of long range against vehicles, I was able to just move up with the Conquer Doctrine, advance up, and start taking pot shots at his Imperial Chaos Knights. Yeah. I ended up killing at least 3 Armigers and maybe crippling 1 on turn 1.
Okay.
After that, it became very difficult for him to even get to me simply because of the way the buildings are deployed. Yeah. You had to go, like take at least 1 extra turn to go around the buildings. Getting charges was also a threat because I had so much countercharge from my Sidonian Dragoons, who have Anti-Walker 2+, and that really popped off. Yeah. I think in that game, I dealt at least 20 wounds worth of Sidonian Dragoon lance attacks.
Yeah. I mean, his list counters a lot of lists that were there. He ended up doing really well. He went 4-1 as well. He beat Diogo. He beat me. It's just like if you have more of a board control list, it's going to struggle against something like this, especially because he can't even screen. Yeah. He can screen a lot with 12 of those dudes. And they hit so hard in close combat as well. You can't really throw an incarn at them because, you're going to do damage and then you're nuked in a turn or 2. And Diogo ran a very similar list to me, who I think he was playing for Starter Scrub yesterday. I don't even know. Yeah, he was playing on the weekend. He was playing for Starter Scrub, which is Scari's team. He had a similar list to mine. We'll go over it when we get into Eldar. And he struggled to beat that list. I struggled even worse because I didn't have Night Spinners in my list. It's a really tough list, and you handled it with ease. You tabled him turn 4. So it just shows how good the Breachers are.
It is also because this is a vehicle-heavy meta. Yeah. So AdMech is actually a very good counter to a lot of people who are bringing vehicles. Yeah. Space Marines especially. Once I'll go into like game 5, I did a lot of damage to my opposing player, but it still was lacking because AdMech does require a lot of finesse to know where to shoot and what not to shoot. Because when you fail and when you do the wrong target prioritization, you will get punished hard. You don't have the same amount of bodies or same amount of shots that other armies have.
Yeah. So at the end of day 1, you were 2-0 at the end going into the 3rd game. You went and played, was it Franklin?
Yeah, Franklin.
That's the Black Templars dice check guy?
Stat check.
Stat check, sorry. I keep saying dice check because I watch those dudes. So he played a Templar army, right?
Yes, he does know stat check really well, so I wouldn't say like of course, Franklin, if you're there, let me know. But he brings a very tanky and just a lot of bodies of Black Templars.
He calls his list test.
Yeah, it's
this is a test. So it's Black Templars characters. He has an apothecary. He has a chaplain. He has a chaplain of Terminator armor, High Marshal, the Hellbrick, and the lieutenant, and with combi weapon. Battle line stuff. He has a Primaris Crusader squad. He has a Primaris, 2 Primaris Crusader squads, infiltrators, 3 Redemptors. Did he have plasma on all of them?
Yes.
Plasma on all of them. A scout squad, Terminator assault squad, and a whirlwind. Yes. So going against your list, that is pretty. I think he can counter a lot of the things you do, especially the fact that he's very tanky in the middle. And those, do you want to talk about how tanky those dreadnoughts are?
Yes, the dreadnoughts are, when you're playing against Space Marine players, never focus the Redemptors, unless you can...
He took Iron Storm, right?
No, he took the Black Templar
okay, yeah.
So what he gave his units was a 5+ leadership, and then everyone had 6 up Feel No Pain.
Yeah.
When you have Redemptors, which are very tanky already, with -1 damage, the 6 up Feel No Pain does kick in well. Because, not to mention, if you stack cover and armor contempt, even against a last cannon shot.
Oh, wow.
You're bringing it down to AP 1.
Yeah, because you're
and
minus
now you
2.
have a 2-up save base.
And a 6-up feel no pain.
So you get a 3-up save against a last cannon.
3-up save, 6-up feel no pain, -1 damage. Disgusting.
So, word of advice, when you're playing against Space Marine players, do not overcommit into Redemptors because they most likely will survive.
They're going to suck up
the
a lot
rest of the
damage.
army is just going to like pump into you.
Yeah.
That was not the really biggest mistake for me. I lost the game, but I knew exactly at what points there were the failures. The first failure I had was my Evasaur Assassin ended up moving back when I was on the middle objective.
Okay.
So that allowed his Terminators to move in,
Right.
charge me, and basically get free movement.
Oh, free either charge your assassin.
Yes, what I should have done was basically move my assassin up to his range
Yep.
and just completely block him out. And that's really it. It's when you play against a Black Templar list that just has a lot of bodies, don't focus down the Terminators, focus down all the toughness for Space Marine dudes.
Yep.
Like, because when I start shooting into the Crusader squads with my Breachers,
Yep.
they drop like flies.
Absolutely.
When you shoot into a Terminator squad that has a 5-up feel no pain as well,
Yep.
with 4 wounds, yeah, it's not a good idea. You're better off with just tying up this Terminators with some chaff, or maybe like trying to split the fire of the
Yeah.
Terminators so that they have to like fight chickens. And at that point, I had him fight. I had like 8 Terminators pump like a lot of shots into my chickens.
Yep.
He could barely kill like one of them.
So it was a good matchup for you. Just kind of target priority, and then you made a bad move with your giving him some extra movement to
Yes.
his.
When we talked at the end of the game, it all came down to whoever got first turn.
Yeah.
If I had gotten first turn,
Which
it
has
would have
happened
been
a lot.
a swing for me. If he at least got the first turn, he completely agreed that he won because of that.
Yeah, and he's
But
a great guy, like you said.
he was a
you're
very
talking
good
to him.
player. Like
Very
he's
good
very
player.
skilled.
Respect, like you said, a lot of respect in that game, and you guys talked about a lot of things. We're gonna have him. He's coming by on Sunday. You said you're gonna play him.
Yeah, I'm going Saturday, Sunday. We're just gonna play a game.
And we're gonna have him on stream hopefully very soon, so you guys can see him play.
let's
He
call
has
it
a
for
nice
you.
painted army as well. So it'd be great to have him by here. Stat check.
He is like no
he's
stat check.
well, yeah,
He's
exactly.
affiliated with them. I'm
Well-
not gonna say he's like until he confirms.
He's not part.
If he-
He's not part of the cult yet.
Yeah, if he confirms it, we'll say it.
Okay, so that's that game. Then you played
3.
Shri, which we call him Chief.
Yeah, Chief.
Because he's the chief. And you won. That was you playing the Custodes. It was a decent list. I'm not going to go into it too much because that wasn't like a hard match. Not that it wasn't a hard match, but you won that match pretty easily. It was your 5th game, the
Yes.
final game of the day. That kind of give you would you call that an upset? Because Anthony beat him first. Who did you play last?
I played against
Carlos?
Carlo.
And I thought this is where I thought, okay, Justin's going to finish 4-1 because I thought, your anti-tank list.
Yes.
And he has a lot of tanks. I'm like, okay, you're going to shred his tanks, and then there's not much he can do. And he kind of like was very cagey, and it was a close match, right? You want to talk about it?
Okay, so same issues with the 3rd game. Never target the Redemptors. I was
Did you have nightmares of Redemptors?
I have 2.
And he's playing Iron Storm.
I have 2 Redemptors.
Okay.
I love my Redemptors, but the problem is Iron Storm adds another issue to the
Excuse
problem.
me, Anthony, mute my mic next time. That'll probably blew people's ears up.
So the Iron Storm detachment allows your one character to have once per phase change 1 damage to 0.
Right.
So my last cannons, which are shooting into Redemptors or shooting into a Whirlwind, become 0 after that with the damage.
Yeah.
That really hurts, and I had 1 Redemptor basically limp on like 1 wound for like 3 turns. I was trying my damn hardest to kill that Redemptor, but it just would not die.
Yep.
Armor Contempt kicks in, cover kicks in, so my Breacher guns are basically AP 0 because he's not in this deployment zone.
Yep.
He would, if you're playing against AdMech, by the way, get out of your deployment zone because the Assault Conquer Doctrine really helps AdMech out.
Yep.
You want to stay in the midfield, which of course now I'm helping my opponent out or helping everyone else on how to beat AdMech. But being in midfield is probably the better place if you're playing against AdMech.
Right.
But don't let that be, don't let that trick you because we can change everything to heavy doctrine, and which means that if you're too close to us, our breachers are going to be able to hit you on 3s with like 4 shots each.
Right.
The tough part was prioritization of the shots as well. Those whirlwinds eat through breachers.
Absolutely.
Strength 8, AP minus 2 damage. That means you're wounding your guys on 3s, your
Does it ignore
breachers.
cover?
It does not ignore cover.
No, it doesn't ignore
But you don't need that because your breacher's only going to have a 4-up save at that point.
Right.
Unless you're in the heavy doctrine, in which, of course, you get a 3-up save. But being in the heavy doctrine early game is sort of like going to make you lose because you want to be aggressive. You want to like take advantage of your opponent being in the deployment zone.
And they don't have invulns, those breachers.
They have a 6-up invuln,
6-up,
which
yeah.
is
useless.
Useless because you're going to have 4-up save anyways. Those whirlwinds really hurt me. But the funny thing is, he dedicates so much of his army into one breacher squad. By end of turn 1, I had one breacher left and the tech priest.
Oh, wow.
That was like 800 points.
Fired everything.
800 points brought me down to like 2 models left.
And he got turn 1, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I got turn 1. I had turn 1 that one. Yeah, I tried nuking his.
You couldn't reposition. You couldn't.
I was like,
how much do you want fire and fade?
I want that a lot, but we're AdMech. I think we have the tankiness to like just accept it. Funny thing is, I dedicated so much firepower into the Redemptors. Yep. I brought it down to like 2 wounds turn 1.
Oh my god!
And it just wouldn't die.
And he played Ironstorm. Do you want to go through his list just because he did?
Yes.
He did have a nice list. And,
the list was beautifully painted. Carlo is a fantastic painter.
Great guy. Yeah.
He actually started. This is his first time playing like 10th edition. He started like 4 months ago.
He plays, but this is the first time playing 10th.
Yes, and then Lionel tells me he's been playing since 4th edition. I'm like, no way, someone like this like. You're telling me you started like 4 months ago in 10th edition and you're this good? Yeah, he's like, no, he started since 4th edition.
He's been playing a long time.
I know.
He's a good player.
He's really good.
So he had 2 lieutenants with combi weapons. He had a tech marine, 2 tech marines, 3 tech marines. Infantry, he had a Hellblaster squad. Hey, he has Hellblasters.
Yeah, Hellblasters are great.
Yeah. Did he put a lieutenant with them?
No. Okay. He took a barebone squad and an impulsor, which I'm still waiting for all my impulsors to come in.
Yeah, they're coming. Bellastaris, Dreadnought, he took one of those. He took Gladiator Lancer, Redemptor Dreadnought, Redemptor Dreadnought, Redemptor Dreadnought. This all had plasma.
Yep.
Correct? And then he had an Executioner, beautiful. I love my Executioners as well. 2 Whirlwinds and an Impulsor, like you said, that had the Hellblasters inside. Nice list, lots of vehicles. I thought that would be really juicy for you, but he ended up repositioning, like you said, and you took
he hit his Executioner hit really well turn 1.
Okay.
Turn 2 is when it started popping off. Lethal hits and sustained hits with a
good.
Stratagem, and 5+ with a Stratagem to make it so your criticals on 5, meaning that you really get a lot of shots out.
Yep.
They nuked my Breacher squad with the Tech Priest Manipulus.
Yep.
But after that, it became really like I was trying to hide everything, though I knew the game was already over because I give so much for Bring It Down. I think by turn 40, killed all my chickens, and then I gave him 20 points worth of Bring It Down. But I kept the score close with 96 to 63, which was pretty like decent. I could have done better if target prioritization was a lot improved. Like when he popped out his whirlwinds because he wanted to get direct line of sight to ignore the penalty. I could have easily shot him with my last cannons and killed those whirlwinds. But the problem was I focused down the Redemptors. So story of the event, never target the Redemptors unless you can really like commit and kill them.
Very true. Do you want to pop his list up at the end of here while we're talking? Just put Justin's list up while we talk about it a little bit. Do you have it on? Do you have the list? Okay. Yeah.
It's always the same list.
Do you want to talk about what you what you learned about this in this GT and with your list, and are there going to be any changes that you want to go going forward, or are you going to stick with this a little bit because you think you made some mistakes that you could have improved on, or where are you thinking right now with your list?
So the way that X-Planet worked, there was a huge lot of sightlines. That really isn't enough for me to like gauge if I need to make changes because I really played like very well. The problem was I made a lot of minor mistakes that really costed me like the points and everything. Of course, the best thing about being a good player is you know what your mistakes are. You don't fault the army, you fault like the movements and the mistakes that you make. As of right now, I would probably keep the list the same. I want to play more GTs where it's like the terrain's a lot more cluttered, a lot more like WTC or ITC or whatever you want to call it. Because at that point, that's when it becomes you actually are testing out your skill and figuring out what your limits of your army are. Because right now, a lot of it is I'm waiting for my opponent to make mistakes, and when they make mistakes, I punish them hard.
Yeah.
With the way AdMech is, nobody knows how to play them, so they make a lot of mistakes. Be kind to your opponent and just explain to them what your army does, and try not to do like gotcha moments and all that. Because end of the day, the tournament is all about being friendly to the opponent, and you and both of them have a good time. End of the day, you will leave and you're like, oh, that guy I played game 4 or game 3 was a fantastic guy. So that's really my thing that I got back from the tournament. Anything I would change in my list? Not really right now. I do want to test out alternatives to just bringing Breachers.
Yeah.
Maybe bring Electro Priest, because I did see someone win a GT with Electro Priest, or at least get really high, as well as maybe spamming a lot more of the Dune Riders with Scutari inside. That one list I saw from Goonhammer looked fantastic, and he won really well.
So Anthony's got the list up right now. So I'm looking at your list here. So everything you want to keep everything the same, and just like you're going to test it out again? Or?
I think I'm going to probably test it out this month and play more WTC terrain and more like less line of sights and see what my limits are on my army. Because the way I see it right now, I do think my army is a very strong jack of all trades, and that actually counters the current meta of lots of vehicles.
Yeah.
Lots of vehicles are going to die, lots of Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights are going to die, even big monsters. I have a 2 CP strat to get +1 of wound against them. Right. So my Breacher is wounding them on force. Okay. Which I've had a lot of like wonders against, say, like Tyranids.
So you're going to keep the chicken tech for now?
I'm keeping the chicken tech.
So you're leaving that alone?
It's an expensive tech I'm not giving away yet.
Well, we'll see what happens when it's kind of going to shift. The meta is going to shift a little bit going into the new year and stuff like that. So, but I think your list is good. It's strong. You're doing really well with an army that's under, was like what? Honestly, first of all, we want to mention something. I think in the last 2 tournaments, you alone brought the Adamek up to 50% win rate. I'm not even kidding. I looked on there on StatCheck, and you brought the Adamek up.
Yep.
If you look at them before those 2 or 3 tournaments, they were like around 45, and you had like at least 12 wins with them, right? So you're doing Adamek a good job.
Thank you.
But don't make them go too high because they're going to nerf.
I'm trying to keep it as low key as possible while keeping it high key.
Yeah, because I see people play Adamek, and I don't know if it's they don't know how to play them. I just think you really mastered exactly what they do 100% well. And there's people that just don't understand, I guess, how to, I don't know how to say it, but I don't want to say they don't know how to play Adamek. It's just like they're not using the right tools in the army right now, which happens a lot.
Adamek is very like boxed in with breachers as the core.
Yeah.
But the most important thing I would like to tell everybody in the audience, it comes down to learning the overall skills of playing the game with movement. Learn how to play with the movements. Learn how to, because that's the best phase you can control. Movement's the only thing you actually have
a list
control
can take
over.
you only so far. Like you have the list, but you got to bring your you
got to enlighten yourself to the point that you can move and ascend over the army.
Yeah.
Like imagine doing the same strategies I'm doing right now.
Pre-measure, make sure everything's out of range, make sure your movements are good.
Doing that, deep strike denying, and just knowing how to be an absolute headache to your opponent.
Exactly.
In a friendly way, of course.
All right, so let's go on to mine because I think we covered everything for yours.
Yep.
So end of the day, you're staying with your list. You're gonna try it out again another tournament, and then we'll see if we have to do anything different there. But let's go into my list. I don't know if Anthony has it here. I don't think he does. No, that might be it. Actually, slightly different. Oh, that is basically my list. But
all right, we're coming down to the Eldar.
So to start off, I can go over my list to begin with.
Yep.
It's what you expect from an Eldar list, sort of, and a few variations here because not a lot of people are running Fire Prisms anymore. I took a Fire Prism. I took 3 Swooping Hawk units of 5.
Yep.
I took 3 Warp Spiders, units of Warp Spiders, 5 in each. No 10-man squads here, except for the Wraith Guard. Wraith Guard, 10-man squad of Wraith Guard with a Farseer, not a Farseer, a Spirit Seer. And if you look at this list here, this is a list we played on the stream last week or a couple weeks ago. There's a Farseer in my list, which I should have took because this list, the way I ran it, I was getting a little too greedy with putting too many Swooping Hawks in there. So if you look at this list now that's up, get rid of the Farseer and add another unit of Swooping Hawks. That's basically what I did. But going back on it, I would have added the Farseer because he can give you that turning the Fate dice into 6.
Yes.
I had no Fate dice. Like as soon as I wasted my 6s, I was done. So I needed that. The Yin Karn was there. The Avatar Kane was there. I had a Spirit Seer with the Wraith Guard and the Way Leaper, of course, with the Phoenix Gem.
Yes.
Giving him that coming back on a 2-up, but mainly to hold my back line, screen out the back, just sit on the back objective. You see a lot of people doing this with like Flamer, or what are they, the Flamers of Tzeentch, and they'll put them on a back thing there. You see Chaos do that a lot, right? Or what's the other guy's name? The Changeling. Just a 1-unit guy. That's what the Farseer does for me. Plus he regenerates, gives me an extra CP per turn. And the Spirit Seer took Fate's Messenger, so he could turn 1 result into a 6 every turn. Not bad. I can go over the list a little more in depth of what I think I want to change and what's not working for the current meta. But let's go into the matchups. First match, I played a guy named, let me see, I don't want to get his name wrong. First of all, I played World Eaters first turn.
Yep.
And I want to say one thing about my army. It's not fully painted yet. It is fully painted, like technically for tournaments, but I just kind of rushed it out, put the base coats, and based it. So it will be fully painted for the channel. Don't worry. Those are just base coats.
Hold them to it.
It will be done soon. So I played. His name's Daryl. Daryl Jones. He played World Eaters. Nice guy. Great guy. It was a bit of a stomp. The game ended by top of turn 4 was his turn, and he had 1 unit left, and we couldn't really do anything because he had objectives that he couldn't really score. So we kind of ended it right there, and I just drew my cards out at the bottom of 4 and the bottom of 5, and he was kind of tabled by turn 4. So it was a bit of a stomp. It was he scored 45. I believe I scored 100 or very close to 100, and that was that. Easy turn 1. I felt good about my army. I said, there might be few things here I can't do. Then I got into turn 2. Game two, sorry. Game 2, my list kind of got exposed right off the bat. And Scari and I scored very similar, so we played each other next. Up there, there was a few people that scored 100, so I think everybody...
Rami was one of them.
Exactly. So there's a few people, another NKG guy. We never mentioned, Rami's part of Team NKG for our team. So he helps out the studio, but he's also part of our competitive team. He scored 100 in the first game as well, so I'm like, we might play each other. He's like, no, I'm going to play Scari. He was saying that. I'm like, I don't think so. We'll see how it goes. And I guess the way the pairings worked, me and Scari, because of the gap in our wins as well, we were back on each other. So played each other. I played Scari, game 2. First of all, Scari's list, if you go to his channel and check out Scarcast, he goes in depth of what he's running. He went 5-0. He won the tournament, and he spanked me in this game, and I was not expecting it. I made 2 critical, very bad mistakes against him. Number 1, if you've ever played Scari before, he's a master at screening. Very number good. 1 thing in my head, I already knew. This is why I'm really stupid, and I don't know if it was a lack of sleep from the night before, but I'm like, I put 900 points in reserve, and then as soon as I did that, I'm like, I'm playing Scari. He's gonna screen the entire board. And that's exactly what he did. I'm like, I'm screwed. And Scari's like, yeah, why did you put 900 points in reserve? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why I did that. I wanted to get the Avatar closer. I put the Avatar in reserve. I put all my Warp Spiders in reserve. And I put all the Swooping Hawks in reserve, which is fine. Swooping Hawks in reserve everybody does that. But I did not need to put the 3 Warp Spiders in reserve.
Yep.
I did not need to put the Avatar Cane in reserve. I got greedy.
Yep.
And I wanted to pop them out on the side of the board and take out something big. That was one part of what happened. The second part is uncontrollable on my half. He got turn 1, and the line of sights in this tournament. There's a lot of line of sight. I'm not making excuses, but if you see Scari's list, he has a lot of Bright Lands.
Dark Lances,
sorry. Bright Lance, Dark Lance. It's a little bit better than Bright Lance, because does Bright Lance get +1? Or is it D6 straight?
I think it's D6 +1.
It's okay, so they're both the same. Dark Lance, but he had him on Scourges. So they pop out, it's 36 inches. If you played against Dark Eldar, Scourges can move, shoot, and move back into cover. So they have a free, what's it called?
A free
fire
jump.
And fade. Yeah. So that was deadly. And if you know how Power from Pain works, or Pain for Power, whichever way you say it, he can give tokens to certain units, and they get full rerolls on everything. What's the matter, Anthony? Anthony's talking to himself. So he gets 4 rerolls, and that nuked my Fire Prism. And I swear to God, I hit it so well. He just found a few lines, because there's so many lines you can't hide on these boards that we played on. And he got a few lines, took out my Fire Prism, and then I was basically neutered from the start, because now I can't pop something from far away. I can't blink in my Yin-Karn. Everything's in reserve. My first turn was useless. So I basically I forgot what I got. I forgot what my secondaries were, but I scored a little bit in the first turn. And then after that, Scari started moving his Vipers, or what are they called? Which
ones? He didn't have a Raider, did he?
No, he did have one. He had one.
I think Vipers.
He moved those up. Venoms. The Venoms on the sides, and he popped the guys out of there. So screened out the sides. I had to start in my backfield, move up my Warp Spiders, do some shooting, bring in the Yin-Karn. Yin-Karn went back there. She made a great charge and killed some Scourge and some other things in the corner. His Talos started moving up towards the middle. And guess what happened?
You got slapped.
I got screened entirely on that side of the table. I could not bring my Avatar in from the table side I wanted. the biggest thing that kind of screwed me over, I forgot what they're called. They're a small unit of
Mandrakes?
Mandrakes.
Or Beastmasters?
Beastmasters or Mandrakes. I think they were the Beastmasters, actually. He could scout them,
Yeah, that's the
advance them,
Beastmasters.
got into my... So he just basically screened me out into my own zone. And I know this because I know the way Scari screens. And I'm like, I'm screwed. So I had to start everything in my corner and move up. The warp spiders are fine. They move 24 inches. They can blink, take your test, whatever. On a 1, you take a mortal. They did what they had to do. They blinked up, they shot, but my avatar had to move up and not support my Yin-Karn. I got screwed, and that it was my fault. Of course, Scari's a great player, taking nothing away from Scari. He knew exactly what to do in that. And he even warned me. He's like, "Why do you have everything in reserve? Why are you putting your half your army in reserve?"
Man.
And when I'm like, "Yeah, why am I doing that?" And then it's like, oh, "It's too late. You can't go back, right?" But fool me once, shame on me. Fool me. If I do it again against him, then it's my...
Do it to me tonight.
I'm not doing that ever again.
I'll be like, because I can do same screening like he can. I'm gonna just do like chickens everywhere.
It was funny, of course I knew by turn 3, like, Scari's gonna win this game. There's nothing I can do at this point because I have to walk up the board, and you're gonna get all your secondaries are gonna be easy for you. But I just realized this list doesn't function exactly like I wanted. I can't do that against a board control list. I can do that against a knight list. I can do that against a different type of list, but I can't do that against a Scari list where he has no vehicles. He had one, and everything else is just a bunch of troops that he can screen out like that. And he has bright dark lance. Oh my God, it was annoying. But yeah, that's a loss right there. And then I was kind of like tilted at that point. Not tilted, but I was like, okay, I can't do that again. Game 3, I'm like, I'm gonna get back on track here, go for 4-1. I'm still gonna be in the hunt here. And then I go into a guy that you played, and you said you tabled in turn 4. Charles Soong, Team Sweden. And I can't even tell you how much that list counters my Eldar list. I did not have the firepower to deal with it.
No, you didn't.
I have a very board control Eldar list. I do have firepower. I have, like I said, my
Fire Prism?
Fire Prism can nuke a unit a turn if he doesn't make saves. I have, what are they called? The Knight, Wraithguard.
Oh, Wraithguard, yes.
Can nuke, if I split fire, I can maybe kill 2. I can kill if he shoots me. I can do more shots into them. I have capabilities to do things there. I didn't put anything in reserve. My Yin-Karn wrecked. I killed, I think, 8 knights. But by the time that happened, it took so much for me to do that. I couldn't move out of mid-board. He was just doing his secondaries, and he drew really well. It was a really tough game. It was close, and I think the final score was 78-60 or something like that. It was really close. He won by a few points. But I lost again, and I was like, this list is really, I'm missing components, and we'll get over it. We'll go over it, what I'm thinking to do. A lot of it is because I just don't have the models needed for Eldar right now, what's really meta right now, because Knights are nerfed. You can't use Wraith Knights anymore. And yeah, Fire Prisms are not the meta right now. The meta is Knight Spinners.
Yes, definitely.
So Diogo's a great player, and he plays for Team Canada, and he also plays with Scari on Scari's team for Stutter Scrub. He lost to Brian as well. Is his name Brian?
No, his Brian is Charles.
Charles Soong. He struggled so hard against it, and he has a very similar list. We run a very similar list: 2 avatars, the Wraithguard Blob, Swooping Hawks maxed out, and I think he only brought 2 Warp Spider units. And then the only difference in his list is he has 2 Night Spinners instead of the Fire Prism, and he has what are they called? The Spectres.
Oh, Shadow Spectres.
Shadow Spectres. So he basically has like the what's it called?
Jump,
ability.
shoot, jump?
Jump, shoot, jump, basically. So he can do that. They're not like tournament. They're not going to win him a tournament, but it's good to have that against certain armies. It's just more mobility as well. That's it. And then that was day 1. And day 2, I had a flat tire in the morning.
So your biggest enemy, who you lost to, was a flat tire.
My enemy, the person that defeated me for the tournament, was the flat tire. So I was driving my wife's car. Woke up in the morning, went outside with my army ready to go, had my coffee, and it's like, nice, flat tire. And then I couldn't go anymore. Called Anthony, said, Anthony, can you tell Lionel I'm not coming, I have to drop flat tire. I don't know if you told him, did you tell him?
You did.
Okay.
And this is the one time Anthony in a tournament beat Claudio.
Yeah, Anthony beat me. He beat me 70-0 that game.
Good job, Anthony, good job.
He got a free win off me. Hey, at least I helped out a teammate. Anthony, give me your actual... Just tell me, were you happy that I dropped at that point because you got the free win, or was it like, I don't want to win this way? Tell the truth.
So, I don't want to say I was annoyed, since there's no third mic here today.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I was annoyed, but it was only 2 games that day.
Yeah.
And my first one was dropped in like 3 or 3.5 hour times between, and then lunch. So I woke up, got there at 9 o'clock, and didn't get to play till 1 o'clock or something.
You should have went to sleep in your car.
I did.
You did.
Oh,
I actually did. This guy knocked on my window to wake me up.
There you go. I give you a free nap. That's what you get,
Give me
and
a
a
free
win,
nap.
a win and a nap. But anyways, yeah. So I had a flat tire. I ended up dropping the tournament on day 2. So unfortunately, I couldn't play anymore to test the list though. But this is my conclusion for my list. Number 1, Fire Prism. Do not take it.
Do not.
Unless you take 2 of them, don't just throw in that one.
Fire Prism.
It's not worth it. I know I have the second. I can do 2 D6, whatever. Is it D6 plus 3? It has a different profile, the Fire Prism gun, but
I think it's like what, 2 damage, if anything.
it is. It's AP -1. It's all right. No.
It's for the Fire
It's not
Prism.
indirect. It's just
It's the scatter fire.
It's scatter fire. Yeah, it has a second profile, which is it's all right, but the indirect and what the Night Spinners do with the movement.
Oh, Night Spinners
Nerfing?
they're nasty.
Yeah, do you want
I
to?
faced Diogo,
Yeah.
and that Night Spinner really was. It didn't do damage. It was so annoying.
It just stops you from moving.
Yeah. So it's the thing. My breachers require advancing to shoot, right?
Exactly.
So Night Spinners, if you shoot at me and get even a single hit, I reduce my movement by 2
Yep.
and down to 3-inch movement, and I
you
cannot
charge.
advance.
Oh, you're not gonna charge, but or
I can't advance after that.
You can't.
I'm legit stuck at 3-inch movement on a breacher.
Yep.
I'm like, oh no. And he has 2 of them. 2.
Now, here's the thing. This is why he had a better matchup against Brian's.
Oh, you mean Charles?
Charles is. I keep calling him Brian because we just played Brian Crowthers, the guy who won.
He won Toronto Fall Open.
Won the Toronto Fall Open. Came by and played with his Chaos, and he's a great player and great guy. The other guys, 40K podcast, check them out. We always plug them because they're really cool dudes. But what was I saying? Yeah, Diogo's list went much better into that list because I can imagine him shelling these guys with Night Spinners, and he can't move his carnivores up at that point.
Yes.
His carnivores are moving half the movement on those carnivores would have been amazing.
Here's the funny thing. If you do it to the top, like the front 2,
Yeah.
now they can't advance either. And now the rest of them are also blocked up.
Oh, they're stuck. Yeah.
They're stuck because vehicles can't go over vehicles.
Yeah. I wonder if Diogo did that. That'll be.
He might have done that.
Yeah.
But it ended up being, remember,
Are they
Charles,
vehicles or walkers?
they're vehicles and walkers.
So they can't go through each other.
No.
That's brutal.
So, and the thing is, he
They
went
can go through infantry though.
infantry only.
Yeah.
And infantry vice versa can go through vehicles.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's like Charles did go 4-1, so he did like do really good against like every
He
other
played
matchup.
well. He's a great player. He plays for Team Sweden, so he knows what he's doing. My point was Night Spinners all day.
Are you gonna buy 3 now?
No, hell no. I'm gonna play Chaos.
You're gonna play Chaos
No,
now.
I'm gonna play Chaos for a bit. I do like Eldar. They're really good. I just don't think they're gonna win tournaments right now.
Can I play Eldar then instead?
Sure.
I'm gonna take Triple Warp Spider, lots of Avatar. No,
They're
Avatars.
good.
Dire Avengers. That's what I'm gonna take.
Dire Adventures.
Yeah, I'm gonna make them work.
They're pretty good.
Actually, no. What was it? Not Falcon Graph Tank. Wave Serpents. Those are what I'm gonna use.
Really.
Dedicated
Oh my
transports,
God.
okay?
Are you just making a chicken tech army for Eldar?
Every army has a chicken tech somewhere.
Walkers.
No, Warwalkers are too expensive.
Yeah, they're way too expensive.
I'm thinking, what was it? Those tanks I'm talking about? Not the Falcon Graph
Warp
Tank.
Spiders. I mean, sorry, the
Serpents.
Serpents. You're
They're
talking about
dedicated
the
transports.
transports, yeah.
And I'm the dedicated transport master. I'm gonna make it
Okay.
work.
So bring
I'm
3 of
just
those.
joking.
Bring 6 of them.
I'm bringing 6 of them. Yeah. Okay, but anyways, back to I digress.
Yeah, so I'm not getting Shadow Specters. I don't care about the meta for Shadow Specters right now because I'm not paying Forge World prices.
How about the what's the other one? The Warwalker, and then there was the other tank, the small one.
Talking about the Falcon?
Not the Falcon. You know, there's that one Forge World tank that has that double bright lance.
Hornets, yeah.
Hornets, that's what they are.
Those are really good. Again, Forge World, they are really good, yeah. So a pure meta list right now would probably be 3 Hornets, Shadow Specters, and 2 Night Spinners.
How about Warwalkers?
I don't-
Warwalkers are really cheap too with the double bright lance.
I'm not a fan of them. I'm sure there are uses for them, and they're pretty good. They have like a 4-up invuln, right?
Yep.
So they're probably pretty good. I just wouldn't use it. I would rather go for the speed on the Hornets, and plus they
True.
have 2 Bright Lance on each, and they're 100 points. And you get these 14-inch, plus you can advance them. That's a lot of movement. They can get in objectives, and they're more survivable than Swooping Hawks.
Yes, of course. Swooping Hawks are just like the paper.
Let's just mention something else about Brian. I keep calling him Brian. Charles.
Yes.
Every single knight has indirect fire.
Yep.
So for you, it's not a big deal because you have saves. But for my swooping hawks that are taking D6 shots per 12 indirect freaking missile launchers, you're going to kill at least 2 a turn. I can't even sit on objectives obscured against him. He literally countered everything I did. There's nothing he can. He didn't list build against Eldar, but he just counters swooping hawks and warp spiders because they only have 4 up save. Then you give me cover. I still have a 4-up save. That's the best I can get.
3-up save then at that point.
Is it AP -1 those?
No, it's AP 0.
Okay, so I got 3 ups, but it's 1 damage.
The problem is you're a 5-man unit.
It's 5 men, and I'm not gonna take 10. I'm not gonna take 10-man units of swooping hawks. That's crazy amount of.
The funny thing is, he did the same thing. He did the same thing to me against my Scutari.
But you're more survivable.
No, we're at the same toughness. The problem was I have a 10-man squad, and I was making 3-up saves like a god. I'll tell you that. Like the amount of 3-up saves I made on my Scutari.
I wasted all my saves against Brian.
I think that's it.
If you didn't watch the live stream with me and Brian a couple weeks ago or last week, I made I think I made 15 4-up saves in 1 roll.
Yes, I remember that.
We're just looking at 1 failed, and we're like, okay, we're going to a tournament tomorrow. This is going to be all 1s tomorrow, and exactly that's what happened. But just number crunching, as Anthony says with the stats, just putting all those D6 shots, even though I get a 3-up save on my warp spiders and my swooping hawks, it's not enough. 1 damage has to go through. You have 12. He does that 12 times, and he's focus firing. Because that's all he can really do damage to, right? You're not going to shoot into my tank. You're not going to shoot into the Wraith Guard in the middle. So he's focus firing my cheap units, and that's the only thing I regret, or not regret, but that's the only thing that kind of holds me back there is if I had Hornets, they're way tougher, and they can actually survive indirect fire of that nature. So he wouldn't be able to take me off objectives. I was hiding behind 2 objectives, and he was just killing me off every turn. So then when my turn started, I had to put more warp spiders there, and then they're dead again. So good job on him. He did the right thing. It's an issue with my list because swooping hawks are not really meant to do that. They're meant to come in, do your behind enemy lines, then they go back into up in reserve, and they come and do another objective that you need. You don't really need them there holding objectives, right?
Yes.
That's where I want to put my night spinners, hiding behind cover and lobbing stuff out. And you can't kill them with indirect like that. They're just going to laugh at you.
Sure.
So that's my takeaway from that. Are Eldar good? Yes, they are good. Is my list good? No. The list, it's competitive, but it's not competitive.
You got to make a lot of changes.
It's not competitive enough to win. I got to make a lot of changes with my list, which I'm not going to do because I don't want to buy that amount of models to go to that part of the meta. We don't have our codex out. When's the codex going to come out for Eldar, you think?
Who knows? Maybe a year, 2 years from now?
2 years.
Remember, they haven't announced anything. Next is, what was it? Necrons and Admech. Then it's going to be Dark Angels and something else.
Yes.
And that's, I think, those are the 4 codexes released already.
Then. I'll go to Dark
I think
Knight,
Custodes was there at some point, but I don't remember the rest.
But either way, they're still good. I might make some changes to it. We'll see how it goes in the new year. We're definitely going to go. We're going to go hard in the tournament scene next year. We're going to go place it for high placings. And Justin's ready to show people that Admech are top tier.
I don't want to show people top tier.
No, he doesn't want to do that.
They're down here, okay?
When you win a major, people are gonna be like, start playing. You're gonna make everybody go buy Admag.
Uh-oh. Okay, I'm not gonna win it. I'm just,
second
place is fine.
Second place,
I'm happy with second place.
Okay, so Chaos are good too. I'm gonna start my Chaos stuff because I have a lot of Chaos and I want to play both armies. But Eldar are not bad. They're just that list I'm bringing is not the greatest. That being said. GG. Good tournament. We had a fun time. What else did you want to add about that?
I got one thing with Justin.
What?
After playing that tournament, what do you guys think of the health of the game?
I think the game is in a very good spot. Mm-hmm. It is vehicle heavy. Well, once again, I'm biased. It's vehicle heavy right now, so I'm having a great time.
Yes, you like blowing up vehicles, don't you?
But seriously, though, I do think there's a lot more fun and potential in doing move blocking and all that stuff with vehicles.
Yeah, you're loving
rather than just infantry and just taking the heaviest hitting guns.
Yep.
Take more small units that are cheap and just being obnoxious. Move blocking, denying, tying things up. Learn to improve your skill from that rather than just using the sheer brunt of your data sheets. That's my thing. What do you think?
I think the game's in a good spot. I think it just needs a little bit of fine-tuning with the armies. I think that's the biggest issue right now.
Definitely.
Is certain armies need a tuning.
The internal balance of a lot of codexes do need to get bumped up. For example, your Dire Rangers obviously need to get like bumped up.
Yeah.
A lot of the AdMech codex, a lot of units really need to like get tweaked
Absolutely,
a lot in order to be good.
The thing I will say about Eldar right now, this is what I don't like. They're nerfing, GW's nerfing, and it's only coming via like point nerfs. It's not tweaking. Like they just wanted knights out of the game because they didn't know how to change them to make them usable to the point where you're not going to be just killing the enemy in the first turn, because that's what was happening. If you played a knight player, if you played Eldar early 10th edition and they had 2 knights, you're done in turn 2 if they get first turn. So that's not right. You don't want that in the game because that's not fun. But you don't want units to be completely unusable. And 510 points for that, it's not a knight. It doesn't do what a knight does. Like there are some knights that are 500 points, right, Anthony? Most of them are 500. But would you say they're more like you can use them in a lot of different parts of the game? You can charge with them. They're a lot tougher in close combat. Eldar Knights just shoot you. And yes, they can hit you hard, but they already did side nerfs to that. First of all, they increased the points. Then they did all the side nerfs with Immortals, the way Immortals or devastating wounds don't carry over. That's a bunch of nerfs. Then they nerfed that you can't Overwatch with Titanic. Then they nerfed that you can't. They nerfed which rule? The towering rule. There's a lot of nerfs that that unit took. Then the points went up to 510. That's too much. Now you're just like, okay, you don't want to see these on the table, basically. And I don't like that. I don't like when GW changes things like that. I'd rather you make them viable still to use, but yes, tone down some of the things they do. But don't make people be like, the worst thing I hate, because I've been playing this game for almost 25 years. The worst thing that you can do in this game is make people buy models, and then 5 months later, they're useless. Because they're not useless, but you take them in a competitive game, it's useless. In a fun game, do what you want. But if we're talking about competitive, and which GW is catering towards now very much, and I love it, but you can't do that. You can't be like, okay, go buy 2 of these units, and then, oh, you know what, they're too strong, let's just nuke them. I don't like that. For the game, not for anything else.
I completely agree with you, but I am on the side of get rid of super heavies.
You don't like super heavies?
I don't like super heavies, in my opinion. I think 40K is better.
Knights are done.
I know. But that's a hot take of mine.
Okay.
That's a hot take of mine.
Justin doesn't like super heavies. That's fine.
I do think that like the game is in a good state. I do agree with you. Like Imperial Chaos, not Chaos Knights, Wraith Knights.
Wraith Knights.
Wraith Knights.
That's what we're talking about.
Tweak them a bit so they're not just like a one-shot, one-trick pony. Exactly. Once you like make them like more versatile, like an Imperial Knight, where you get to like equip it with different things, then of course you can like balance it out. Yeah. But the problem was, you know, there's a variant for the Wraith Knight where it has a sword in the other gun, right?
Yeah, that's better.
That's tied to it as well. That's tied to the same data sheet, and it suffers because of the Devastator wounds gun. Yep. Like they should have balanced it out, maybe make it 2 data sheets or something.
Absolutely.
But because now of that, you got 2 useless data sheets.
I'm not going to judge it until the codex comes out. Let's see if they have a backup plan for what they're doing. But as of now, they just don't want to deal with it. So they're just like, take it out, make it 510 points. They have a bunch of side nerfs. Nobody's going to use it anymore. We don't have to worry about hearing people cry about it doing too much damage. And here's another thing about that. It's even when it was a top unit, not when Mortal Wounds carried over or Devastating Wounds carried over, but just after that, when they changed it, it became a very swingy unit. So you could hit really hard, or you could just whiff and roll 2 1s and you get 2 shots. And that's not, you're going to nuke 2 guys really hard. That's about it. You could take out tanks, but you just took out Eldar's ability to be anti-tank. Because nobody's bringing 103, 180 points, what do they call fire prisms anymore. You're not doing that. They're taking indirect fire instead. They're trying to spam that out again. You nuked Eldar's weapon platforms. Nobody's taking those 125 point weapon platform. Devastating Wounds don't carry over. I'm just saying, Eldar, as much as you guys say Eldar are great and they have a lot of good units, which is true, you can't do very much with them. They're a specific way to play them.
I don't think they have that many good units.
Exactly.
You can put them in like a hand of 10.
Exactly. That's my point.
Like, you have like how many like data sheets? Like 40, 50? Maybe like 10 are viable?
Yes.
Like 10 are competitively viable.
And brings up my second point. I'm not trying to complain about the state of the game right now, but Anthony brought it up, and it's your fault, Anthony. This is why I like 9th edition more. And I'm saying 10th is not ruined to this point, but you can fix it. But people were saying nuke 10th at the beginning. I don't think that's the answer. I think the answer is the thing that made ninth really good was I liked that you could give all these combos, these relics, you could do different combinations with units, have different auras affect different units. Now it's like I just see the same rinse and repeat army over and over, besides really good players like Scari, which will take things that you don't see very often. But now I see an Eldar army, I just see a copy every time. And that's what I hate about that's what I hate about this edition, is just like you've made only so many units do good things, you're just going to see the same repetitive army over and over and over. Every time you play Eldar, you're going to see Wraithguard with a Spirit Seer that has Fate's Messenger. You're going to see a Way Leaper. You're going to see the Incarn. It's too repetitive.
That's the fault of the Codex itself, though.
Free War Gear.
That's
I hate it.
okay. My counterpoint to that's the fault of the book and the writers. Like,
Yes,
because the way
I'm not
that
blaming anybody else.
because now it comes down to, if I give you like the same army you and I play,
Yeah.
it's going to come down to skill.
Skill.
Which now comes down to a lot more skilled players now. Like,
Yeah,
you got
but this-
Scari being able to bring it out.
Yeah.
You got me being able to play Admech. You got you being able to, even like with the way Eldar is,
Yeah.
bring it out. It comes down to a lot more. You got like skill players are like going up more,
Yeah.
and like the lore players are going down more, because it comes down to more of everyone has the same blank slate.
Yeah.
No combos. It comes down to movement, how to block your opponent, how to score
Okay, I
objectives, and how
agree
to
on
do all
that
that
point.
stuff.
I agree
It's a
on that
battle game,
point.
and I want to use my cool models.
It's a game.
I
Game
get what you're
comes
saying.
first.
So on a closing note, in competitively, you're talking like, I don't know if you watch Formula One racing.
Yep. I don't watch it. No.
Okay, so Formula One racing, every single car has to be under the same specs. There might be better, you might have better like aerodynamics on one car, but that comes down to the team and whatever.
Yes.
But you have to follow the same specs. Everybody has the same horsepower. Everybody has to follow the same weight class. You can't go into a lower weight class,
Yes.
blah, blah, blah. Then it comes down to driver skills.
Yes, that's
so
it.
this is what you're talking about. And I like that point that competitive matches become about the player's skill
Yeah.
mainly. But don't nerf it to the point where everything's a carbon copy of each other and you're just playing the same lists against each other, because that will kill the game, because it gets
Definitely.
so boring.
I completely agree with
It gets
that.
so boring. I like seeing combos. I like people coming up with that stuff like, that's nasty, like how did you think of that? And that was what I loved about 8th and 9th, is that you could make these great combinations, like the old possessed stuff that you could do -3 to hit. I'm not saying it's fair, but I'm just saying I loved seeing that. It was just like, that's disgusting. How did you come up with that? If you find a balance in between those, not making it so overpowered that your opponent can't even shoot you or is only hitting you on 6s, compared to everybody doing the same thing, find a balance in there, and I think it's in a great state. But I do think coming into 10th was not the greatest. Now where we are in 10th, I think it's all right. I think it's pretty good.
I think I'm always biased about
Yeah.
it, but I think 10th is better than 9th.
yeah.
That's my opinion.
In your opinion, you think that's...
That's my opinion.
I think we're getting there. I think it's getting to that point. 10th is definitely in a better position where it was in the
Much
beginning.
better.
But let's close up on the tournament. What did you think overall tournament? Did you like it?
7 out of 10, it was great.
Yeah.
I think it was
Only
like,
the guy
I'm just
running it
joking.
was kind of,
Yeah. Lionel knows how to run a tournament, but it was a fantastic time. Everyone had a great time, of course.
Yeah, Lionel's
There was
a
only
great
2
guy.
drops. One of them was because you got beaten by your tires.
my tires beat me on day 2, yes.
But the turnout was great.
Tire.
Yeah, one tire.
Oh, I had to change all of them because I don't want to get into this, start talking about this stuff, but I went there and the guy's like, your treads are very, very low. And it's my wife's car and she's always driving around my kids, so I'm like, just change all 4 tires. So yeah, so X-Planet cost me, well, that's not X-Planet's fault.
Yeah.
But I had to change 4 tires that day, yes.
But yeah, that's all I got to say. Like, thank you, Lionel, for hosting the event again.
Yeah.
This is the last event that X-Planet is hosting for this year.
For the season, yeah.
But next year, 2024, we're going to be
It's
like
the
going
year
to
of
a lot
NKG.
more of his RTTs.
Yeah.
We're gonna have everyone go to the the X-Planet Games tournament, the big one,
TGX.
TGX,
Yeah.
as well as regular GTs.
That's in July, I think. Lionel holds it every
Yeah.
July.
And are you planning to go to like Barry Bash or any of those other events that are coming up?
Scari hosts that, so yeah, we're gonna try.
I know
It's in Barry,
yes.
right?
I know
try.
Brian is like Brian Crothers, like the one who
Yeah,
came
he's
by
going for sure.
Chaos. He's like telling me all these tournaments are really trying to get me into the competitive scene.
Yeah.
Please help me. I
Justin's
don't
a
want to go there.
competitive player, but he
just joking.
in 9th edition he was like, I don't want to be too competitive. I just want to do fun stuff. And now you're like, I want to nuke everything.
No, here's the thing. The fun stuff can be competitive now because
sure.
it relies less on killing power now and more of objective
Yeah.
power. So now when you like start doing what I'm doing right
Yeah.
now with like blocking and being shenanigan wise,
Yep.
it becomes more about objectives and just move blocking. That's where the fun comes in.
On a closing note, with the randomness, the Maelstrom of War. If you haven't played Maelstrom in like 7th or 8th edition, it's that style of gameplay. Much better missions, obviously. Like they've gone more towards the ITC style. I will say that also adds another
level.
You saw yesterday what happened. People were calling Anthony a cheater because we didn't have our cards yesterday for our game, so Anthony had to randomly generate them. And I know it's a different algorithm on that compared to drawing it. It's the same for dice. When you roll dice on TTS, it's always like, okay, I rolled 6 ones in a row now. I think this thing's bugged. But anyways, Anthony, you drew like the perfect secondaries 2 turns in a row, exactly like what you needed. Like you were basically on my thing. It happens. And I rolled like the worst ones possible. And people were like, Anthony's cheating. He's trying to make the guard win. But it wasn't like that. It was just, I was making jokes live that he was doing that. But it was, in all fairness, like that happens in the game with cards as well. Like how many times you pull a card and you're like, oh, I already have this. Like, it happens.
The amount of times I draw Capture Enemy Outpost turn 1 is way too.
That's the worst.
It's way too consistent to be random.
Unless you have a yin card.
Unless you have a yin card, but it's the way that tabletop battles work, which is the app that we use to generate the objectives.
Yeah.
It just does it randomly. And when you get Capture Enemy Outpost turn 1, moving forward, always discard it unless you can guarantee that you can get it.
Yes, sir.
And I hope that. Yeah, that's all we got to say.
Don't discard first turn because you can just get a free CP and.
No, that's what I'm saying. Discard first turn as in end of turn.
Way, not to read.
Capture Enemy Outpost turn 1 is gonna like clog your lines. I'm just gonna say that.
Absolutely. So ending it off there, that was the tournament. Great time. Lionel's the best. He's a great guy. Great place. If you don't know X-Planet, check it out. It's in Mississauga. What else did I want to say? Oh, tonight we're playing these lists against each other. You haven't played this list exactly, so we haven't played each other with. I've played your list many times, but I will feel the pain tonight. Let's see how bad Eldar actually are. Let's see if you can you found a way to chicken tech them down.
We will see. That's all I can say.
So we're gonna smash these lists against each other tonight at 7:30. Come back, join us for a battle report. Justin and I are gonna be playing each other. Anthony's not in control of the secondaries tonight, so I'll have a chance of winning.
Yeah, I brought my cards back. I brought the cards back from the tournament.
All right. Good. Have a good night, or see you guys later. We're at NKG. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring Anthony's bell.
He likes it.